we last left off, you said you called Janet came back and she read the scene the following day, and you called Jack Cummings in. Can we?
And Jack Cummings brought Roy Rowland.
Pick up from, and Janet came back the next day.
Pick up from there.
Yeah.
Janet came back the next day and read the scene, and I knew she was Lissy Ann. I called the producer, who was Jack Cummings. He brought the director, who was Roy Rowland. They came to my office, sat down. I introduced Janet. We read the scene together. I could see Jack Cummings' eyes pop open. He was like saying, "Thank you, God." And the next, he said to her, "We're going to wardrobe." Not, "Are you under," he didn't even ask me. He's going to wardrobe. We didn't have a signed contract. All we had was the preliminary that we gave anybody if we were going to test them, or the possibility of making a test. They had that with a nothing kind of salary, etc. And, a 6-month contract with an option, one of those things. He took her to wardrobe, outfitted her. She made the test with Van Johnson. He named her. When the film, the executive producer still wanted the other girl to do it. The film was shown, both tests, to Mr. Mayer. We all sat in a room, and Mr. Mayer said one line: "Give it to the new girl." He didn't know a name, didn't know anything. I'll never forget it. "Give it to the new girl." That's all he said. Now, Janet was wardrobed, everything was done, and then they told her that they were going on location. Well, to her that meant that she was going out of town on a train or on a plane. And she said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't afford to go." Of course, that's how much she knew about the business. And that's when they told her that she wouldn't have to pay for anything. That was it. The next picture she made was with Van Heflin. That in itself, you see, and she learned so magnificently, because remember, when she did Little Women, that was not a big role. It was not as big as any of the other roles in the picture. But what she did beautifully.
John Springer said that when you're looking at Little Women, you see 3 actresses, and then you see Janet, who really believes that she's one of the Little Women. Would you agree with that?
100%. With the exception, and I think Elizabeth is very talented, don't misunderstand me. But with the exception of course, she was wonderful in National Velvet. She wanted to play National Velvet. I took Elizabeth to Pandro Berman's office because they were considering, you know who they were considering? Alfred Hitchcock's daughter, who looked very much like her father and was a darling, sweet girl, but really not talented. And of course, Pandro kept saying, "But Elizabeth is she's such a beautiful child, and she's too short." I brought her up to his office and said, "Now you measure her with everybody else and with Mickey." That's how I fought for Elizabeth to do, because I knew She was born to ride on that horse. She wanted to ride on that horse. And I knew she would ride that horse as no one else would ride that horse. Now, I believed Elizabeth utterly in the last time I saw Paris. And the other times I have believed her was one or two that she played with Richard Burton, including Virginia Woolf, who's afraid of Virginia Woolf. But there have been times when I wanted to say, Elizabeth, forget what you look like. Just, she is talented. No, I have, and Little Women was one of them because she was being that beautiful daughter of the family.
Why do all the actresses tell me that Van is their favorite leading man?
I think he was very unassuming as an actor, as a person. Van could be the most giving person there could be. And until a certain time of his life, I think he was. When he was the most giving was when he was the biggest star. He wasn't nearly, I think, when that star started to fade a little bit, he became, whether it was unsure of himself, whether a woman he had been married to made him that unsure, I don't know. And I would rather not be quoted. But when Van was at the pinnacle, there wasn't a nicer human being. And he gave that way.
And he gave to Janet, who was
You see,
just
that's
green,
what came
right?
out of him at that time. It was like the world was his, and he just was giving it. Because the next time I saw Van,
Just stay for a minute, please, on Romance of Rosie Ridge.
What, dear?
Stay on Romance of Rosie Ridge and tell me, what was Van's greatest gift to Janet Leigh on her first movie?
I think just that, dear. He was so nice to her. The confidence that he gave her, dear. You see, when he was at that point, and that was the highest point, he was so full of giving that you felt the radiation of it if you said hello to him.
Now,
the next time, I must tell you the difference, dear. The next time I saw him, Debbie was doing what was to be a television series. Had just an ordinary television director that was doing nothing. And the scene was awful, and I was there seeing it. We were on location. And I tried to say something to Van, because he was playing it big, and it shouldn't have been played big, like Van was. I saw the resentment. Now, there was a man with him who was, he said was his agent, who watched every move, and I said nothing. But that's when I saw the difference. Now, when he and Janet did the show together, he was again, that man was not there, and Van was Van, not as much as, let us say, when they did Romance of Rosie Ridge. But he was Van.
The Orson Welles movie.
That she was excellent in. You know why? It was a small role. The woman's role was not a big role. You see, that's when I term, you see, not when an actress is in every shot,